In 21st century, a man is called illiterate if he doesn't have his thinking skills. And with this idea, we have arranged today's workshop. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Metacognitive Strategy and Learning Workshop. I hope you will not sleep off after having lunch. So we have planned few activities for all of you. And I hope everyone has read the reading material sent to you. Yes, very good. We love it. Okay. So now, before we proceed with the workshop, let's first see what we understand by metacognitive strategies or metacognition, or what we know about this workshop. Because if we recall, last month, Jeshmi and Pinky conducted one workshop in the sports complex. So let's recall quickly what all we know about this topic already. Any one of you, please raise your hand. Yes, Bhargavi? Thinking about thinking. Wow, anything else someone wants to add? Yes? Okay, we got a very heavy word here. It's more about qualitative thing rather than quantitative things. Since already Bhargavi gave the word thinking about thinking, so let's first focus on what is thinking. Or, hold it down, okay. So let's think about what is thinking and why it is so essential these days to get back to this thinking part, or why it is essential to bring back thinking to the desk. Is it not enough that, aren't we doing enough to promote that thinking? Sometimes we think yes, but after watching the video which we're going to show you, we have to reflect back. What we are doing, is we really promoting thinking? Pinky, can we have the video, please?
My kids could win at the game show Jeopardy.
He's talking, he was a teacher in Ivy League and he's talking about his Ivy League students. That's how it starts.
They were full of information. They had encyclopedic recall of facts, but they didn't have, they weren't knowledge able. They didn't have an ability with knowledge that they could take information and structure it and do something with it to solve a novel problem. In a word, they couldn't think. So, what is thinking? What does it mean? What do we mean when we say thinking? Thinking is simply a process of structuring information and doing something with it. Taking information, structuring it, organizing it in such a way to do something meaningful with it. Now, there are a number of different types of thinking, major types of thinking. There's creative thinking, critical thinking, there's systems thinking, interdisciplinary or scientific thinking, and there's also emotional intelligence or pro-social thinking. Now, these are all wildly important thinking skills. All students need to know. We shouldn't discriminate among them. Of course, our schools don't discriminate among them. They're killing all of them equally. Now, this problem the problem of students getting to college and not being able to think is an educational problem. It's rooted in education, but it has global effects. These global effects are not just seen by professors in classrooms, they're seen by everyone. Parents worry that their students don't have the common sense skills to make it in life. Teachers worry that what they're doing in the classroom isn't preparing kids for life. And businesses and CEOs, when they're interviewed, they consistently complain that the applicant pool is not ready for the workforce. How many of you have played with Legos? You played with them as a kid? I played with them as a kid, and when I got them, they were in a bucket, right? They came in a big bucket. There were no instructions. You threw them out on the floor, and you were able to make whatever you wanted. You could make a bridge. You could make a house. You could make a pterodactyl if you wanted to. Well, that's not how they come today. Today, it's dependent on instructions. They come in a box like this, a kit like this, and it's very dependent on the child reading the instructions in order to build the kit. If you don't follow the instructions, you're not going to end up with an Imperial dropship with 4 stormtroopers. And you certainly can't build a pterodactyl with this kit. Here's my fear. It's not that there's not a lot of thinking that goes into these kits. There's a tremendous amount of thinking that goes into these kits. And it's all happening on a desk in Billund, Denmark at LEGO headquarters. The people who design these kits are making great strides in their thinking. But it's not happening on the kid's desk, where the kid is building it. My fear is that this Lego example is a metaphor for what's happening in education today. We are, as curriculum designers and teachers and educators, over-engineering the content curriculum, and we're surgically removing the thinking so that our kids are simply following instructions, painting by the numbers, and getting the grade. We need to get thinking back on every desk. I'll tell you this, I've never really met anyone who seriously looks me in the eye and says, I don't think thinking is that important. We all know that thinking is critically important. Our college students can't think. We don't need a miracle. What we need is a method. We need the ability to teach thinking through a method in our schools alongside the lessons. There are 4 universal thinking skills that research shows are happening and that we can use to teach kids how to think. If we teach these skills, they lead to those 6 types of thinking I talked about: critical thinking, creative thinking, interdisciplinary and scientific thinking, and even pro-social and emotional development. The first thing that we can do to get kids thinking again is to teach them to make distinctions between ideas and objects and things. The second thing we can do to get kids thinking again is to teach them to look at the parts and the wholes that make up systems. Every part is a whole, and every whole is a part. That is universal. The third thing we can do to get thinking back into the classroom is to recognize relationships, to teach our children to recognize relationships between and among ideas. In our schools today, we almost teach the lack of relationships or disconnection. We teach in departments, in courses, in subject areas, and in discipline. The fourth thing that we can do to get our kids thinking again is to take multiple perspectives. Everything looks different when you take a new perspective. And when we teach perspective taking, there are things that are correlated with teaching perspective taking that we all want. Increased empathy, increased compassion. It gives me great hopes that we can fix education. We can do this, but we need to get started right away. We need to get teaching thinking back at every desk. Thank you very much.
Which will remain with you? Anything? Any points, any words, any idea which you felt was new to you or you felt is the most essential word in the video? It's the key points of the video. Anyone? Please raise your hand. Perspective thinking, okay, I will write down the word perspective thinking. Deep thinking. Perspective, how to teach them. Give me words. All the sentence or the idea. Give me the word idea. Or what stuck with you? A method. Distinction. Four skills that we talking about here. So method is to think. 4 methods that we discussed, like sensation, system, relationship, and perspective. So it's a method to think? Yeah. Yes, Bharti, please guys raise your hands and then we will go one by one. So we are teaching an isolation and not actually trying to create relationships. Isolation is safe. Okay. Teaching isolation. So I'll put the words like this. Yes, David?
We're teaching for traditional exams.
Teaching for traditional exams, okay? So, how do you think?
So when we're talking about teaching competencies over here, they don't have like so many 40 seconds and midterm exams. We still follow the examination pattern. So automatically we have a set structure for how child is supposed to answer, what is the expectation. They don't have any.
Okay, but David, I would like to differ with you here. So are you saying just because we have exams, we don't have right to regional competencies?
No. Because we have traditional exams, the measure of teaching are traditional.
But that's the end product. The end product can be an exam. But what is the process? I can teach. Okay, let me understand if I'm getting you well. If I
trying to ask is, when we saw the stormtrooper, the ship, so that is already a prescribed ship. You can't make anything else with it. Over here, traditional exam is already a structured design. So what we are doing is providing them with the instructions. If we do away with traditional examinations, then we can reach out and be more flexible within the class. You can't teach them not to get ready for an exam and tell them to do IGCSE. In English, for a matter, if a child doesn't have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion and an answer, if he wants to super paraphrase the entire answer into one word for a 15-mark question, are we going to give him marks? The problem in a traditional environment is that we teach that there's too much stress given to examiners.
Exactly. Okay.
So automatically our teaching will have to adopt to what policy of examination the school follows. So if a child's examination has 80% of the marks, don't you think you have to teach it for the 80 or will you teach it for the 20?
But right now, that's why we are trying to change that. We're trying to think about that's why we are.
When we are, what
yeah,
I
so we are preparing for the future. We are preparing for the future.
No. So your question was, how do we change it, right?
Yes.
So my point is, if we remove traditional examinations, say 4 exams a year, then automatically we will move towards project-based learning, writing-based learning. But until that happens, we can't have a little bit of both because it just causes confusion.
Point. Correct. I agree with you. Assessment has to match with. Agree with you. Okay. Anyone else?
Any points which stood out or any
Highlights. Well, that.
that's the yes, Mr. Mark.
Even in teacher preparation, even before they enter a classroom, they should be prepared to think that way, because it's not just the kids, not disposition. When you do, like say B.Ed or PGCE or whatever it is, you have to have the preparation even coming from there. Because if you're coming from a traditional background and you go to the classroom, you're going to only think about your subject and your classroom and your, unless they are also made to think. So I think that every teacher, whoever has any concept, content expertise should also have some basics about other contents. So I cannot teach math without English. So the children have already had this predisposition that math teachers cannot do English. Only now they have come to accept that, oh, perhaps math teachers can speak in English and they know English. So that kind of attitude should go. Because when traditionally math teachers go, they only got numbers and they only do math.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
So systems is one thing, like when you taught that class in 6A and you left the class at respiratory systems, I continued with systems and included numbers. That is what the teachers should be taught.
Yes, Ms. Lina?
He made an interesting point that you said about how the thinking is happening like from person who's delivering rather than person who's accepting. Thinking is not happening from the person. Like there is good, there is good learning that's happening, but it's not driven by the person who is the center point. It's kind of fed to them instead of them sort of exploring their imagination.
Yes, Ms. Saha? So I also think that I just take from where David and Nipa have mentioned about not having time. See, you will not have time when you are only restricting yourself towards content. But if you actually make sure that you have your content in an envelope of these three skills, then things are all in place. So you are taking up your content, but at the same time ensuring that those thinking skills are also coming about in your class. So that does happen. And the priority should change. The priority should change. So it depends on your delivery. Has to deliver it in such a way that these things happen simultaneously. You can't say that the thinking skills is standalone and the content is standalone. Correct. This actually brought us to point.
Just one thing, but isn't creativity measured by expression? So if the child has thought of something how are we measuring his expression? So creativity can only be expressed or can only be quantified through the child's aesthetic expression. So even if the child has thought, say on his own, something novel, how are we measuring the novelty of this idea as opposed to, okay, I am giving this question, apply that concept in math. How are we expressing his creativity over it? Yes.
Alright. First thing, when we're talking about creativity and critical analysis, alright, these are two different things. And more so in mathematics, we actually look into critical analysis more than creativity. Creativity comes right at the very latest stage. At the moment, if right now, at this stage, when you have structured like examinations and all, if we can build in critical analysis in our class, that should be more than enough at the moment. So, if we are able to bring that critical thinking happening in our class, I think creativity will definitely build up later in later stages. Now, I have students in my class who were in grade 7 when I was teaching grade 7 and now are in grade 12. Those students who were, given those benchmarks of critically thinking are now excelling in IBDP because they were given the pedestals. And now they're able to actually be creative in their exploration.
But in that class that you had, that letter of creativity, was there creativity and special creativity in your class?
Yes, absolutely. I will say yes, it was there. Thank you so much, Mr. Vaz. So with this, let's sum it up. We have got very big words and ideas projected here. So using these words and the thinking skills, the skills which have been written here, let's summarize it. And let's bring out what is the concept. What these sorry. Okay, so if we focus on, is it audible? If we focus on these words and ideas, what is the concept it is leading us to? The concept. Because here we have spoken about thinking skills, teacher disposition and preparation, perspective. But what is the concept? What is the concept all these leading us to? Or from the child's point of view, from the teacher's point of view, what are we trying to address here if you focus on the keywords? What is the concept? We never restricted our thinking. We watched a video. We spoke what all came into our minds. And now, if we connect it to a concept, what will it be? Innovation? No. I don't agree with you. It is not innovation. Connections? Okay, you can think of the philosophies also. It's not from the, you don't have to stick with the MYP concepts. You can think of a broad umbrella words, broad umbrella terms. You don't have to think of MYP subject guides concepts. Anything which is coming up, what are we trying to achieve in the end? Or what is the broad idea of our teacher practicing all these skills? Transformation? Yeah, transformation I can agree. What else? Any other concept? Okay, David, I'm loving this, yes. Facilitation, will you agree that this concept is facilitation? No. Yes, Bhargavi? Moving towards constructivism. So what are we indirectly helping the students to come up with? So what are we helping the students to develop? Thinking skill is a skill. Life skills, these are preparing them for life skill or preparing them for life, exactly. So we are actually preparing them, the preparation for life. So Miss Vilma has already nailed it with her experience. Okay, so just now, you know what we did just now? Is one of the strategies, one of the metacognitive strategies. We watched a video, and from the video we brought out the key points and we conceptualized the whole thinking. The whole video. This is also a metacognitive strategy which we use now. Next, we will move on to the next part of the workshop, and here the reading materials will come into play. So I will request Ms. Nandini to please come and brief the audience.
Okay, I trust that all of you have read through those articles that were mailed to you. And if you notice, we've grouped you in terms of the articles that you've read. So each group will have at least one expert per topic, so to speak. So what we'd like for you to do right now is discuss about the articles that you've read, and as a whole group, come up with a common concept that links the 3 articles that you've read. And if you notice on your tables, we've left handouts on each table. And these are basically tools of mind mapping or tools of conceptualization. Each group would have got a different tool. So please discuss as a group and use the handouts that have been provided to come up with a common linking concept of sort. All 3 articles need to be linked through that mind map. So we'll give you 10 minutes for this activity, and at the end of the 10 minutes, one nominee from each group will have to come forward to present the concept that you've brought out. Each group. So the objective is to have, to present different, can we have silence? Can we move on with our discussion? Thank you. All right, so since there are different that we've given you, tools of thinking that we've given you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call on 3 different groups where 3 different tools have been used. So you get an idea of these tools. So we'll do these 3 groups. So who wants to go first? And I just want to make a disclaimer here. So it's more on, we're focusing on the process. We're not so much concerned about the content, the accuracy of the content. So let's not get worked up about you being right and me being wrong. It's more about the process. So Ms. Rama, you want to go first? Okay. Ms. Rikita.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So in our table, we had 3 topics, and then we started with explaining, looking at what each one's understanding is from the article given to us. And then we came up with 1 or 2 statements that we can summarize our article, like the main content from that. We put in the Venn diagram, the outermost. And then after that, we saw what is something that's common emerging from the 2 Venn diagrams. We put that in the space given here. And in the center, we put the main idea, which we thought is connecting the whole of our article. That was how, I don't know if it's the same, should I mention that? Yes. Okay, so we came up with the main topic being how technology is a boon or a bane, because everything was related to technology, and we thought we need a balance between technology and human intervention. That's how we summarized ours. All right, that's all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Can we have someone from this group?
So good afternoon, everyone. Our group had this triple bubble map on which we try to put on our ideas after discussion. The first one, it was about gamification, and the second one was about technology. And so what we saw in common between gamification and technology was that how technology can be a hindrance based on how you use it as a tool. And the second and the third one was the effects of technology. And between the second and third, that is the technology, how is it used, and the effects of technology, the connection we saw was how it posed as a threat. So between the first two, we thought it could be a threat, boon or bane, provided on how we use it as a tool. And between the second and third, we thought it was mostly of a bane. It was a threat, it was reducing family time and so on. So the main concept we thought was about system or structure. Maybe Mr. Dinesh can give a word or two about it, why he told that was a key concept. The key concept.
Okay, I gave the umbrella topic as structured system because we have defined the educational system to such an extent that learning and thinking has gone.
Surina, come on.
So we had got a tree map diagram where we were supposed to write about the three articles that were given. So the first article was the harmful effects. It was basically more of a debate. That article was more of a debate where they were talking about the pros and cons of using technology, but it was more leaning towards the harmful effects of technology. So that's what we mentioned here in one of the three branches. And the second one, the second article was on gamification, which was pretty much pro-technology. They were talking about the good aspects of how technology can be incorporated and could enhance the, the learning aspects of a child. The third article was how technology is transforming, shaping up the students' thinking skills. Pro or con, whatever, for or against, but it was talking about how it's transforming. So we looked into the minute aspects of it. That's what we've written down. And the overarching topic that we thought, the central idea of the whole, of these three articles is technology in pedagogy. So how are we incorporating technology in our teaching aspects? So that's all.
So of the three articles that were given to us, the overarching idea that we got was trying to bring a balance between human connection and the technology that we use in classes. Okay, of all the three topics that we got, I have or rather we thought that there are a lot of pros and cons to using technology in class. So
All right, would one of you like to come and talk about how you apply thinking skills in this activity?
Because he came up with the one word which is again bilateral brain. So we have to again focus on the balancing part of it, because the topics were given like usage of gadgets and gamification in education and our effects of technology. So again, the key word is bilateral brain. So we have to balance the usage of everything like technology and our our life skills and everything. It should go together. Yeah, this thinking, yeah. What my understanding is, what we all were thinking, it's a deductor intro method. We all discussed the bigger picture first, and then we just narrowed it down, and when we finally reached to the main keyword. So this is deductor intro method, we can say.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so anybody would like to comment on the approach we used here? What model do you think we used here? Not today's entire workshop from the beginning till now. What is the model you think we used? I think it's flip teaching. Okay, so now we'll discuss on what is the difference between traditional class and a flipped class. Okay, in a traditional class, what usually happens, you come to class, you absorb all the knowledge, you go home, and or individually you go back and reflect on critical part of it and problem solving part of it. That is traditional classroom. What is flipped classroom is where you absorb knowledge individually and then you come back to a group to collaborate, and critical thinking and problem solving is done as a group. Okay, so what flipped class can be done in two ways. One in which we did today, pre-reading is sent, you come prepared and then you sit in a group and you solve the problem. Or it can also be done, it's called as in-flip class, in-flip. It is where in class itself the activity can be conducted in such a way that a student absorbs the knowledge individually and then goes back to a group to collaborate. So flipped class happens when there is individual absorbing of knowledge and there is in a group, you do it, you come for the critical part of it. So what is the advantage of it?
It's called in-flip. In class itself, it's
like jigsaw, yeah. It's like jigsaw. Like think, pair, and share. You think up individually and then.
classroom is when you absorb knowledge in classroom, you're mainly talking about the lower level of Bloom's taxonomy, that is understanding the knowledge. But when in flipped classroom, you are trying to deliver to the upper section, that is application and evaluation. Okay, so well, I would like to connect this to the discussion happening before, when how to deliver a content in a very lesser way, and they are spending more time on thinking skills. I think flipped teaching will be one of the tools to use it, because absorbing knowledge takes a little individual learning separately, and then as a group you're spending more on thinking. So the one more main strategy we used here was mind mapping. So how and where do we use mind mapping? Okay, mind mapping is a tool when there is a large number of text information that you can organize your mind map without limiting it to an organizer, build upon it to make sure that the content is not losing its essence. Okay, so it's mainly used in language learning, biology, history is most effective. It's not limited to those subjects, but it is most effective in subjects where there is more text information. Mind map is a very important tool and is very popular. In US, there is 50 branches of this school called Thinking School. Their entire curriculum is delivered only through mind maps. It has been acted as a very powerful tool to initiate thinking. So mind map will also help big picture thinking. That is the same thing I spoke, when more text information is there and you put it up in such a way that doesn't lose its essence. System thinking is what you did there. Came up with more ideas, conceptualized it, and find out the relationships between each concept. Okay? So that is system thinking. It also will help you in critical thinking. So what happens in mind map is, you all were given the same 3 articles. You came up with the same 3 articles, but all of your central idea was different. Okay. Instead of giving it, like if you give the same mind map, everyone usually comes up with the same thing. So you can use it with the combination. You can make it as a powerful tool using the right combination.
Ownership also for each participant. I think the central idea was the same. Yes, yes.
You are right at the same.
So what she meant was different perspectives, because some of you were using bubble map, so you were thinking like some of you were using the from the main idea you were summarizing. Some of you from the way you were going back, then moving back and forth. The process is very different. No, but what you see is also right. The concepts are also different. The wording. So that will initiate the different perspectives. You can also, what they both are trying to say is that you don't limit the thinking. We didn't guide you in any different way or limit the process of your thinking, right? What is the difference between graphic organizers and mind maps? Is graphic organizers who limit their thinking in some way or the other, whereas mind map is free flow. And you can use mind mapping
as one of a powerful tool for note taking also in your regular classrooms. Any doubts about mind mapping in flipped class? We have needs discussion.
Not everyone came up with biological thinking. Different concepts were derived.
Yeah, there is a different perspective, but overall what
It's a different concept also. It's a different concept derived from the stick. So, like she said, it doesn't always have to be one concept. I'm a teacher of literature. Suppose I'm teaching William Wordsworth. There could be different concepts that can be taken up from that. That is the difference between giving information and eliciting information.
there's no like doing it, but you can come to the same concept and what's the purpose.
There are eight types of mind map. Today we have used 4 types: tree, brace, bubble, and Venn diagram, because we thought this is the 4 things which is suitable for our activity today. So, like this, you can prepare a combination of bubble maps and mind maps and use it in your classroom.
The way I visualize that particular
again, when I'm just trying to understand, okay, please don't think I'm like, okay. The idea is when we are watching a video or when I'm trying to explain something in a class or when we are having a discussion, how as a teacher can I facilitate a student or train a student to take notes in the form of a mind map? Because I am not helping the child understand what's there in the center. See, am I trying to get to my point? The thing is, I'm going in a sequential order. That's why my students in the classroom are also taking notes in a sequential order. But will you please help us understand how we are supposed to, yeah, please.
So if I have to speak about the tools that you have got, I would say this is more discrete. And like you mentioned, mind maps are more free-flowing. I would look at it as moving from discrete to abstract. Since most of us are not in the habit of thinking, so this could be a starting tool that you could employ in your classrooms to give them a sense of direction. Now, we're not putting any limitations on these are the only number of points you can make a note of and so on. So this could kind of give them a direction of breaking down or extracting essential information and then linking and then coming up with an overarching concept, right? So you can give them, you can use this as a direction to teach them this is how you think and go up to the big picture from parts to whole. And once they're comfortable with it, then you could explore a mind map in its true sense where it's completely messy, right?
We never knew what we are using there. It was a very impromptu thing. We jotted down the ideas. Well, that time when we were discussing about the video, were we thinking, okay, this is this point, this is that, what all came in our mind, we jotted down. So we all agree with that. Then we connected it and we reached the center, the conclusion or the big question. So this is also a circle mind map. This is also a circle mind map. So what Sanjini said is we can start off with this and then we can gradually lead them to this when we are discussing concepts. Yeah, there are certain part of the subjects where we need to teach them factual things. That time we can use graphic organizers or things where convergent thinking also. Yes. You have to have those kind of. Yes. So for factual things we use graphic organizers. For facts, when we move to debatable questions and conceptual questions, we can gradually take them to this part. Ms. Monica, are we not limiting them by giving them some templates of mind? No. Here we use templates to expose you to the type. Because not each of you may not know all the mind maps available. Once it's clear, no, but it overlaps. It overlaps. She asks minds.
There is no structure.
When you want to draw the trees, so we are right now in transition of over the free flowing thinking and because we are right now very structured in our thinking. So see there is a point where mind map and graphic organizers overlap. Right now we are in that overlapping phase because till now we are channelized to list down we were in the zone of graphic organizers. Then right now we are trying to move ourselves in that overlap. The next step from this, as Ms. Sabha said in the beginning, that I taught students critical thinking in my lower classes. So when now they are in DP, they are able to do creative thinking. So right now we are in the intermediate level, so we are taking the steps. This workshop was meant to expose you what are the graphic organizers, what are the mind maps, and how you can use the tools based on your requirement. Because first day if you go and do this in your class, the first 45 minutes only will go away. So if we have to start it, we have to start with something like this, then build on. And it was not those types of mind maps which we saw graphic organizer or whatever you want to call it. We didn't use it to restrict your thinking. We were just wanting to expose you to the types available.
So you mean to say we should be guiding the thinking process?
Yes, definitely. Yes, because actually that's the next point that I was coming to. What is the link between everything that we did just now and metacognition? Because that's what we are here for.
are talking about thinking skills, we have to teach it explicitly. I have to make you understand that this was here to help you think in relationships, find the relationship between the three different articles. I have to teach it to you, hence I used this template. So if you're saying, do we have to teach it? Yes, we have to teach it, and that is teaching metacognition, where you're teaching them how to think, all right? Now, yeah.
This is right. This is just to children are making things of higher order thinking. You have children who always need support. So it's a very good way. It's basically pedestrian. Once it gets everybody gets a hang of it, you can get it. It will take time to fully explore the potential of mindfulness. And how many of you have heard of the inventor, basically the inventor, his name is David, I don't know how to pronounce his name, David
H-Y-E-R-L-E, something like that. Yeah, yeah.
We have the time that you give another session we can have. That is a short one on exactly how we integrate the mind map and concept map. Okay, because I think what we are trying to do is thinking maps also. You think from what I understand, I think the concept map and mind map is different. Okay, I think the context in which we use this is where it differs. But what you said, I think I think if we plan to do this as a strategy in class, then I think we would all want to have better clarity on what exactly are we talking about when we have to talk about mind map or concept map, and in detail about what I feel is that what I feel is that we're all the same. It's in the context. I agree to that, but it just gives you a explanation of it. With mind map, when you start with the mind map, there is no limit to which direction or brain it is. So you can put down a word and that could spark off another totally different perspective or different ideas coming in, which can be represented in each other classrooms. But ideally with concept map, no matter whether you do it or you will end up with just one very structured way of representing it. So with this, can we refer to that and think what was exactly it was? These are mind maps.
So when we talk about different elements in a story, maybe you could draw a mind map. If you talk about how to answer a structured question for the story, you go with the graphical object.
Yes, I absolutely agree. In this, I absolutely
So we need to distinguish this. Clear distinction.
See, no, I think we are here diagnosing from the need, why we did a workshop like this too. It's a very basic. First of all, this workshop was a very basic level to spark those ideas. Then what all we can use to break those structure in the classroom. Because
what I'm trying to say, graphic organizers reinforce structure.
yes, that's why we concluded this with 2 minutes back. And to summarize the fellow, like this, we will start probably start with graphic organizers. And since and there is, as Pinky said, there will be overlap. Sometimes we do overlap. And we have papers which speaks about it.
No, the buses are supposed to give at 2:30. Yeah, that's what they said.
So just one main point I would like to just summarize the entire workshop, okay? See, right now what is happening in our classes, we are doing very simple, basic metacognitive strategies. For example, in science, when a teacher, let's say a math teacher is solving a problem, she writes the problem, she solves the problem on the board. what she is doing is she is modeling the thinking, her thinking process on the board. Okay. Now, a child for whom a child for whom thinking naturally comes, they will pick up quickly on what is the process that the teacher followed, or what are the strategies that the teacher followed. Not all the students pick it up, so we have to teach it explicitly to certain students for whom who can't think on their own just like that, right? Now, for example, in language, what happens is a language teacher, let's say she's reading a novel, she's teaching a novel, she's reading a paragraph, okay? While she's reading the paragraph, she stops at certain places in the paragraph to either explain the meaning or to bring out some examples or reflect on that. Now, why is the teacher pausing at that place in the paragraph? We are not teaching to the students. Now, these are very, so this is what will help the child. Okay, that is the skill, where to stop in the paragraph to reflect. That is the skill that the child will be able to apply anywhere in any other subject or in any other learning, all right? Now, these are very low-level strategies where you are modeling the process. And what happens is, we as, in our Indian system, we get stuck in modeling the process. We are always modeling. We had certain strategies, as students in school, where we learned really well, okay? And we model those strategies again and again and expect our students also to score good marks with the same strategies. But, so what I'm trying to say is, we need to sit with our children. We need to find out what strategies work best for them to learn. So teach them how to learn and not what to learn, all right? Now, this is a very, very, very small part of metacognition as applied to, how to learn or how to acquire new knowledge. Metacognition is a much more vast field. Okay, it's this one point I wanted to tell you. Yeah, no, this is a starting point for us, where you start explicitly teaching how to learn and not exactly what to learn. Yes. And now, okay, one small request. I know we have a very busy weekend and all, but we will be sending out Google Forms for reflection. If you can please take 2 minutes from your busy schedule and fill it, because that will help us to plan the next stage, like what else we should work on, so that we can come up with the next phase. And this was very preliminary work. Yes, so